Hello everybody, Figment here, back for episode 3 of the Preparing for Deadman series. The series to help you thrive and survive in Deadman Annihilation. Now, not everybody is used to playing limited builds, but I am. In fact, I pretty much only play limited builds. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm no expert, but I am comfortable. So, today is all about bracket worlds and builds. And I'll tell you, it is incredibly important, whether you are just traveling through or permanently staying in a bracket, that you min-max your build to its fullest potential. There are so many different builds you can make that it's not possible to list them all here. If you need help making a build or want to bounce some ideas off someone, join my Discord. I'll be more than happy to help you out. The link is in the description below. I'll be showing my favorite build for each bracket, along with a budget breach setup to boot. Now do know, this video and entire mini-series are aimed at those who are less PvP and Deadman savvy. You can easily upgrade each build shown in terms of gear and more fine-tuned stats to fit your playstyle if you are more comfortable. Well, maybe not the monstrosity I've made for bracket 1. We're saving that one for last, and I promise you do not want to miss that one. I'm going to start with the easiest, bracket 4, known as the main bracket. The build is absolute and simple. It's 126 combat, max stats. Well, at least 124, right? If you're not close to max combats in this bracket, you need to get them ASAP, because if you don't, you're just at a disadvantage. Here are the stats for the stock standard max combat, and as you guessed, it's 99s across the board. And you can be lower prayer, of course, and be fine, but prayer is pretty free with the devotion relic. Do know that Ruinous prayers cost 5k points, whereas Chambers prayers will most likely cost tens of millions of GP during the seasonal. Here's a super cheap breach setup. It's not the best, but it'll get you points, and you can keep a low profile. It focuses on range and mage mostly. I'd either run one of the attack speed sigils, being Gunslinger or Arcane Swiftness for the style you want to main, and then pair Menacing Mage or Ruthless Ranger with said style. Your last slot has some flexibility though, being a choice between the ammo or rune saving relics and consistency. The ammo/rune saving relics can help keep costs low if you're strapped on cash, and consistency is honestly an all-around great relic, especially for its dirt cheap cost. It should be noted that ruby bolts are disabled against breach monsters, so no Ruperts for you. You might be wondering what this skull icon in my inventory is. This is the new Deadman skull, and it's how you buy sigils, quest lamps, but more importantly for this video, it's also how you turn in archaic emblems, which you can get from breaches. There's a possibility that you will be able to instantly use archaic emblems on the skull to save the points immediately, whereas in the past, you would lose them on death if you didn't turn them into the emblem trader. If it works this way, it's massive for two main reasons. First, this helps players keep a flow of money even if they die, making it easier to get back on your feet. Second, picking up an archaic emblem may increase your skull value, signaling all players nearby that you just got a drop. And this might be able to instantly lower the attention you attract by lowering your skull value if that happens. Next up is bracket 3, which is the 81 to 95 combat bracket. This bracket will be my home for the longest this Deadman. I've spent a lot of time cooking a build that works best for me for when I'm point grinding. And I want to make a very clear distinction here. This build is specifically for grinding out points way more than what you need for kits. So here it is. The build is very simple. It's a 60 attack, 50 defense account. I chose this build for two main reasons. First, being in this bracket, you need some amount of defense. However, I want the most offensive capabilities for PVMing, so I need to stay relatively low defense. 50 defense is perfect for this, as Perilous Moon's armor sets actually provide great offensive stats and will most likely be plentiful. Second, locking XP in Deadman mode is horrible. It's straight up dog water. I've ruined so many builds over the years on Deadman because I forgot to relock my experience, and I fixed that this time around, as I'll never have to train on accurate, controlled, or defensive, thus not needing to ever lock my XP on this. This will be a big deal in lower brackets, as all experience is locked, not just combats. This means you cannot train Slayer, for example, if you've reached the combat cap and can still gain experience in the style that you're using. So what does a cheap breach setup look like for this build? Surprise! It's actually the same setup as a 126. However, I will add a note in that I won't be wearing this probably. My main goal is points, and I'll likely be in much more expensive gear at the breach, trying to get as much damage in as possible. However, this does come at the cost of being attacked significantly more. Oh yeah, you might be wondering about the 60 attack. I forgot to mention, corrupted weapons are in the game, and this account can use a scythe. That's right, a corrupted scythe. And a dog sword. And Kopesh. Next up is the 61 to 80 combat bracket, and I've kept the similar thought process as the previous one. This is a 60 attack, 1 defense pure. This build does not have to lock experience except if using melee, which is historically the weakest style for PvM on 1 defense. Like the previous build, you can change as much as you'd like. Probably Prayer on this one, as many won't want to go do Royal Titans for Deadeye and the Piss Pyramid. I decided to go with this one over a 20 defense build because I felt like 1 defense builds are actually pretty easy for newer players to get into. The only real downside here is you're very squishy, you'll take a ton of damage from other players, so make sure you watch your health. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, for both this build and the next build, the sigils are going to be exactly the same as the main sigils. So the only sigil difference will be on the final first bracket. If you thought the previous 2 breach setups were cheap, well, trust me, this one is even cheaper. Most of the items in this setup are extremely dirt cheap or literally free, like the Ghostly Robes or the Zamorak book. You'll notice I have an Ancient Scepter on this one. I actually don't have an Ancient Scepter on the account that was recording the main gear, but Ancient Scepters were added to the emblem shop, so you'll be able to buy them and should use them instead of an Ancient Staff. I'll make a comment about glories as well. These are usually around 100k for the first few days, but then they tank pretty rapidly. So I expect most players to be doing breaches probably for around 2 weeks before they get their points, and just kind of logging in every day, doing the breach and then logging out. Glories should tank in price pretty fast. You might be wondering why I didn't include the Majorina 2 cape or any more expensive untradables. There was actually a change last week that made all untradables go poof on death. Yep, gone. That means if you had an Infernal Cape and you died with it in PvP, it goes poof if it's not parched. Alright, it's finally time to show my masterpiece. I spent a lot of time brainstorming this one, and honestly, I'm probably not even going to play in bracket 1 on an alt, so all I ask, if you are motivated to try this build because of this video, just give me a shout out, as I truly think this build will completely dominate bracket 1. Okay, here it is. This is a Sigil of the Gods inspired build with an incredibly high max cap and a very powerful budget setup. It is built so it can use the following: Toxic Staff of the Dead, Zuriel's Staff if you want to be on Ancients to blitz, Morgan's Axes and Javelins, Dog Sword, Kopesh, and it can even max, I believe, either a 41 or 42 if you're in full max. Gearscape doesn't have a charge option and all the sigils, so it's a little rough to calculate the actual max hit. To top it all off, 68 is actually quite a high health for the bracket, meaning you have decent survivability. There's also even a funny interaction if you get lucky. It's possible to apply 4 different status effects to your opponent at once, being Menacing Mage to proc a curse, Zammy Flames to proc a burn, Staff of the Dead to proc venom, and if you Javelin spec, you can get a bleed. Imagine just applying 4 damage over time effects to somebody and just running around a tree and just letting them tick down. That would be very funny to witness. Anyways, let's look at a budget setup. And surprise, it's actually the same 1-def budget setup as before. The only difference is you have a Zamorak staff in your inventory and either a rune pouch or just runes. That's all for now. Let me know in the comments below what builds you're thinking about playing in the upcoming Deadman Annihilation. And don't forget to click the buttons, all of them, and watch the previous videos in the series. Tomorrow's video is a big one. I hope you like spreadsheets.